Welcome to this episode of the College Soccer Guy podcast. Today we're talking about what happens when you get ghosted. I'm the College Soccer Guy and I help you play college soccer. Okay, so what happens when you get ghosted and how do you deal with being ghosted and how do you solve the problem of being ghosted? Now, first of all, coaches ghost you or frankly they just don't respond, not out of all ill intent. They're very, very busy people. On top of the fact they're not making that much money, on top of the fact that they have so many emails they're getting, okay, and so many unqualified emails that they're just not going to respond the first time around, often, okay, most of the time. Furthermore, this is why we are going to have to, throughout time, follow up with them. Now, how is it that we follow up with them? Okay, there are 5 different ways that we can do so, and they vary based off of your year and your situation, of course. So let's just do the generic one, which is like applies to all years, all grades, and for me and my students works very well. So first of all, you've sent out your mass email, which we've discussed in the previous podcast, and you don't get any response back. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to send a follow-up email not long after, maybe a week or two, and you say, "Dear Coach, I reached out to you prior. I understand you're very busy and you receive many emails. You need to show them that you understand what they're going through. I just wanted to politely follow up and ask, are you looking for a blank position for the class of blank?" And we usually get like a 60 to 70% response rate to that question, assuming your highlight video is good, assuming your email template is good. I can't just say that for everybody, but for our students who have created the package correctly, that is usually the response rate we get. Just recently, we had a student, we're going to call him Player Z, who I've actually posted on TikTok many times before. That's where I'm famous for those of you listening on the podcast. And in saying that, and I'm starting to get famous on the podcast too. Anyways, in saying that, in his case, he followed up with a number of schools. He's an MLS Next player. His email template is perfect because we fixed it for him. We fixed his highlight video and everything else. He emailed Creighton, UCLA, Wisconsin, and Michigan. Did not hear back the first time. We emailed again using this template, and he got responses from all of them. And he literally, I'm going to read you his text message because it's so great. And it was so exciting for us because we've worked really hard throughout this process. So he says, this is literally what he said to me. He goes, I'm going to read it to you right now. "Hey, Zev, I just emailed all the schools that didn't answer with the template that you suggested, and I already received emails back from UCLA, Syracuse, Creighton, Wisconsin, Duke, and Portland." And there's another one from UCLA that he messaged me afterwards. Okay, so there, I've hopefully proved the concept that this really does work, assuming you have to be a good soccer player, okay? My job is to get as many eyeballs on you as possible. I can't make you a better soccer player, but if you deserve to play at one of those schools and you're not getting noticed, which is many of you, then we have to do our part to get you noticed, and that's where you have to be proactive, become your own best agent, and that's what I want to teach you how to do. Okay. So that's the simple way to respond to these coaches. The next thing is when you are, say, your sophomore year or junior year and you're doing the recruiting process. This could happen your freshman year too if you do things correctly. You're going to go to some ID camps. And when you go to those ID camps, if you followed the directions from the podcast prior, you will know that in your follow-up email after an ID camp, you're going to say to them, what level do you believe I can play? And then you're going to ask them to be your reference. So another way to follow up with these coaches is to say, "Hi, coach. I haven't heard from you. I'm curious if you're looking for I would like to confirm, are you looking for the position of X for the class of X? And that being the case, I also wanted to send you some updated video. Attach updated video. That's where we do the every touch video, the full game timestamp video. We already talked about the full game timestamp video in a previous episode. We will be talking about the every touch video in an episode coming up. And that's one way to do it, which is great because then they get to see more video of you. They get to maybe look back at your old highlight video, and now they're like, oh my gosh, I've seen 3 videos of this kid in one email, and that's fantastic. And they followed up with me, which means they care. So that's really helpful. The other way to do this is you have the quotes. Okay, I touched on this briefly in one other podcast, but basically, along the ID camp process, your job is not just to get recruited at those schools that you go to the ID camps, because odds are you're going to go to many ID camps and not get recruited over and over again, and they're very expensive, and to not get recruited can kind of feel like a waste of time. So what I have my students do is I ask the coaches at those ID camps, what level do you believe I can play? And if they respond to us, we then ask them if they would be a reference. Or you can ask directly, would you be a reference? We had a student recently. This particular student is from Alaska, and they went to a Dartmouth camp, and we had messaged Dartmouth back and forth for a long time and said explicitly, look, we're traveling a long way to come to your camp. I'm not only coming there for you, but because I live in Alaska and many coaches are asking about my style of play after seeing my video, and I'm choosing to go to your ID camp, would it be possible for you to be a reference for me after the ID camp? And he didn't respond. So then he went to the ID camp. We then played in the ID camp, emailed them. They didn't respond again. We emailed again, following up, going, "Hi, coach, just want to politely follow up, asking what level do you believe I can play?" They said that we believe you're potential Division 1, but more likely Division 3. And then we said, would it be possible for you to be a reference for me? Is it okay if I have coaches call you if they want to? And the Dartmouth coach responded again, and it was like, yes, we would love that. We know you're a great kid. We know you traveled a long way. You've been wonderful with us throughout this process. Like, we would be happy to be a reference for you. Okay, this is amazing. Now this student has a reference, so he doesn't have to go to every ID camp under the face of the moon now, the face of the sun, because he's going to send out this quote from Dartmouth coach describing what division he can play, and that they can call him if they want to see more of him, because this student, doesn't have the budget necessarily to go to all these ID camps, and they have really good grades, so they qualify for top academic schools, and this is a really great opportunity for this student to potentially now play college soccer. So the other way to email and you're getting no responses is having gone to an ID camp, get a reference, and then follow up saying, "Hey, I just wanted to update you. I have a reference." The other way to follow up is with updates. "I joined a new club team. I wanted to give you an update. We have a showcase coming up. I'd like to give you an update. We have an ID camp I'm going to, and you're going to be at that ID camp as well." How do you pick ID camps? We'll jump into that soon. So that is how I want you guys to follow up when you don't hear back from coaches, which is inevitable in this process. It's just going to happen. So if you would like more help in this process as to how do you respond to your situation and with your coaches and everything else, it is very complicated. That's what I'm here for. That's why I have this page and the podcast and the TikTok and the YouTube. I'm trying to give out all the information I can, and we're developing some platforms now that will enable you to message us via call us, links in the bio, so that way you can call me. Okay, talk soon. Bye.